Welcome to Global View. Tonight we're joined by a name recognizable in California, not only for his commitment to law enforcement, but also for his work as a sheriff in the Riverside County. And now we have the chance to have him as a runner for governor on the next election in California. Welcome to the show, Chad Bianco.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Chad, we are a resident of California. As everybody knows, we live in a small oasis, which is Beverly Hills, precisely not to deal with the madness and the homelessness and all the crime that are eroding what California used to represent, which is the American dream. How do you plan to take it back? And I would like to start about your plan on homelessness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very easy to take our state back because it is only broken because of absolute failed government policies. California, the Sacramento agenda from our current form of government led by Governor Newsom and a one-party rule in our legislature and assembly have absolutely destroyed California, particularly the homeless issue. And from my perspective as a law enforcement officer, we knew this was going to happen. We knew it was coming and we warned it would happen in 2014, and we've been trying to ring the alarm bells on how to fix it ever since. So we are going to be very, very blunt and upfront with what we have with these people that we see living on the streets, dying on the streets, because it has nothing to do with homes. And we have been forced to call it homes so the government could create this homeless industrial complex that they could just keep this money flowing, billions and billions of dollars flowing into nonprofits and NGOs that claim to have homes for these people that they're not. I mean, we know the money is absolutely being wasted. The people that are living on the streets, number one, don't want those homes. Number two, will not live in those homes. And if they do ever end up in them, they will leave shortly ever after. What we have is a drug and alcohol addiction problem, a mental health problem, and a combination of both mental health and drug and alcohol addiction. And we will never, ever, ever fix this problem until we start dealing with the root cause, what it is, and then we will end it relatively quickly. As a governor, I will make sure that all of the money going to these NGOs and nonprofits absolutely stops. We will use only a fraction of that money to implement Prop 36 because Prop 47 in 2014 is what created this disaster that we have. So we know we can fix it just by getting these people into treatment. So these people who are living and dying on our sidewalks will be given the treatment that they need for drug and alcohol treatment and for addiction. And then the biggest issue that we have is those suffering from mental health conditions. There is no way to treat them if they also have a drug and alcohol addiction, which we know the majority of the ones we see on the streets, that's exactly what they have. And so they're just forced back out into the street because no facility will take them. We absolutely must address this. We must, if you truly care about those people, which I do, I am going to end what we see and call the homeless situation, but we are going to end people living on the streets because I actually care about them. And we should all be compassionate about the issues that they are struggling with, help them get the help needed for the drug and alcohol treatment, the mental health care that we know we have to supply. And this ends within 2 years. We will never be dealing with this again.
Why do you think that these NGOs were so interested in basically this fake racket? It seems to be a racket to create the homeless problem and to continue it in perpetuity instead of actually addressing it. I mean, is this like a Democrat? What's the real reason behind this? Because you really don't see it in other parts of the country except here. What's the real reason that we actually even had this in the beginning?
Yeah, well, you have to look at what we have in government that is creating it. It is a complete supermajority of Democrat Assembly and Senate, and then a governor, two governors in a row with the same agenda. And the billions of dollars that is going to it, there's a lot of people getting rich. And we absolutely know now that some of that money is being routed back into the election coffers of the people that are keeping the money flowing in the first place. So it is real. It is created. It is a government created and sponsored complex that launders our taxpayer money, for lack of a better word. But all of that money goes to make a whole bunch of people rich. Not really a whole bunch. It's just the people that are that are fraudulently getting these apartment complexes, building. They're not even really building homes. They're remodeling big sky-rise buildings or apartments or motels and things like that. Some of it we're seeing they're not remodeling them. They're just taking all the money and they're buying yachts with it. And there's no government oversight. We're talking about the potential of 50, 80, 100 billion dollars in the last 8 years and not one little bit of oversight, even to the point where people were calling for an audit. Even the assembly was calling for an audit, and the governor refused to allow it to happen. There's something very, very wrong. You know they're creating it, and it ends with me as the governor.
Just a quick follow-up to what you just mentioned about the internal toxicity of the political situation in California. Should you win the race, but then you also have the Democrats controlling the various levers of power, how would that affect you getting the job done? Does it affect it? Does a governor have power to basically override any of these objections that the Democrats might have because they've had the gravy train going on for so many years? Can you kind of explain like how you would actually combat that potential resistance by the Democrats to get the job done?
Yeah, this is very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Elected officials only fear two things: not getting elected again and an informed voter.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to provide both. I am going to make sure that the voting public is absolutely, completely, 100% aware of the people who are against making California stronger and those who are just good with the status quo that want it to keep going. California is going to vote me into this office to create a different agenda, a better California. So I don't plan on working with the legislature at all. They better figure out how they're going to work with me. I cannot sign any of the bills that they send to my office, and it's going to make their job very, very much more difficult. They are going to have to start working to make our lives easier here in California instead of their special interests better or richer or easier in whatever it is they're doing in California. But those that are not working for the whole of California to make it easier, I'm going to expose all of them. I'll tell everybody who's voting which direction, who's introducing bills that hurt, and who's maybe going up against the ones that will help us. And it's going to be a night and day difference.
Sure, if you're running over a platform of law and order, I mean, we absolutely can agree there is a safety crisis here. Every resident of California, mostly women like me, are literally scared sometimes to just cross a certain area of Los Angeles. And we know Los Angeles is the biggest city so far, but we have issues also in San Francisco. So the problem of safety is not limited here. We have also seen ICE raids here against illegals and all these gangs coming from Mexico and having, spreading drugs in our youth, among our youths. How do you deal? How do you plan to deal with illegals in California and with the crisis of safety at the same time?
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, but they're separate. We absolutely must have an all-out assault on crime. We have a love affair with criminals in California right now, where we're enabling criminal behavior and there's no consequence for their actions. There's not really a statewide effort. They've ignored everything about crime prevention and crime control, and they've made the local governments just concentrate so much on it and then be overrun because of bad policies that are coming out of Sacramento. We end those. We give our local jurisdictions help from our state government, from our state law enforcement agencies, and we absolutely make crime a crime again, where there is a consequence, a severe consequence for victimizing us. And that lowers the crime that's going on, that makes us all safe. You're absolutely right. In California, I mean, we have to change a lot of things that are broken, but every single aspect and every single corner of California is affected by high crime. And when you don't feel safe, you don't really want to live there. You can't have your business there. Nobody's going to go to your business. And so it affects everybody from the bottom all the way to the top. So we absolutely must make crime our #1 priority. The ICE raids are a little bit different story. That is all federal government. But we have to realize the only reason why those things are happening is because we are a sanctuary state. In other states that are not sanctuary state, There are no ICE raids. I mean, that's what we're calling them. That's not really what they are, but that's what the media refers to them as. And it's become common practice that even the public now says ICE's raid, the ICE raids that are happening. They're really just going out targeting individuals that are in the country illegally. How it used to be before sanctuary state is they would just come to the jail and get them. And it was safe, it was secure, and everybody was really none for the wiser. I mean, everything was good. That's how it should happen. And with me as a governor, that's how it's going to go back to happening. We will cooperate with our federal government. We will allow them into our jails. And the people who are victimizing us that end up in jails are going to be deported. Things were very, very good in California before sanctuary state policy. And now you're not safe. Even people who are in the country illegally are not safe. They're actually more unsafe because they are victimized the easiest, because people threaten them with, if you report it, you're going to be deported or whatever the case may be. So crime doesn't get deported. They're easily victimized. The immigrant community in California knows that they are victimized more and more and more because of sanctuary state policy.
I'm very happy you raised the distinction because, of course, not all illegal aliens constitute a threat to safety as well. So there are two different things. And I can't agree with you more. I'm an immigrant myself, a legal one, though. So my life has been a little bit complying with procedure, which I encourage everyone to do, as you can hear from my accent. So we all feel home somehow in California because it's so diverse at the same time. But we all should actually embrace one big agenda that to me is mega, make America great again. Like California for me is the symbol of America greatness. And I actually wait for the day to leave the California I used to look at growing up in Italy with the beautiful shows in the 90s, where everything was flourishing and was actually paradise on earth. And now what's going to happen? We just need a huge change.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to go back to what brought me here. I came from a different state with not a lot of opportunity to California for my California dream in 1989. And there was plenty of opportunity. California was flourishing. Everything was going well. And I truly was able to achieve my California dream. But for millions of Californians right now, that's not attainable anymore. You can't afford to buy a home. You can't afford groceries, gas. The cost of living has just astronomically increased to where we just can't be here anymore. The regulations, the over-regulations, the taxes, everything is forcing people to leave or stay at home longer because you can't afford an apartment, you can't afford. I have people right now that are calling in sick because they can't afford gas to get to work. And that's for the greatest state in the country. It should be embarrassing for our government because it's our government that has created that situation. And I'm going to remove all of those barriers to take it back to where it was when we came here in the late 80s and the early 90s, to where California was by far the greatest state in the country.
Sheriff, you mentioned we talked about illegals and how obviously not every person who's illegal is a bad person. I mean, this is a country of immigrants. My family immigrated from Greece. Everybody's come from somewhere in this country. Obviously, Simona is a legal immigrant, but California has some of the highest concentrations of the illegal population in the country, along with Texas and some of the other border states. Now, there's a major question that California and I guess the nation has been dealing with since the 80s, since Reagan really brought it up, and that's amnesty. The big A word. I guess the question is, where do you stand on amnesty? And secondly, how do you view the election security in California this time around, considering that many illegals are actually voting in this election? So I guess the first question is amnesty as a general term. And secondly, do you view the illegal population creating a potential election issue in the state of California as well, this race?
Yeah, so I'm completely against amnesty. I'm the law and order guy. We follow rules, we follow laws. We can't have a civilized society. America is the greatest civilized society in the history of the world, and it is because we have an adherence to law. We absolutely must have an adherence to law if we are going to keep being successful. So there is not going to be amnesty. If you came here illegally and you are found by the federal government, the immigration officials, you knew coming in that there was a chance you were going to be deported. And if you're found, they're going to start that process and get you back out. There are also millions of people who are here legally that are absolutely completely against all of the illegals in the country because they're taking jobs from them. They're taking benefits from them. As the governor, we will not be providing any benefits to anyone in this country illegally. Any of the money that we generate from taxpayer money or social services, those are for Californians, Americans. They are not for people who are flocking into this country illegally, then coming into our state to take our benefits. There won't be free school. There won't be free health care. There won't be money given to you for, WIC for your kids or anything like that. If you came here for a better life, I understand that completely, but you can't break our laws and you cannot take our substance in California that should be going to Californians. And then into the election cycle, we absolutely know that there are people in the country illegally that are voting, which is actually against federal and state laws, but yet we are not enforcing them. We're doing a pretty good job in California. I can't say we're doing great, but we are doing a good job in California to limit the amount of people who are voting illegally. But we also have to look and realize that the system was set up for that. When you mail ballots to every single person out there, you don't know who's getting the ballot. I was told today by a woman whose mother moved 8 years ago and has never lived at her house, that every single year she gets a ballot, or every single election she gets a ballot for her mother, and her mother calls and says, I haven't lived there for 8 years, stop sending the ballots there, I'm not a California resident, I've taken away my driver's license, all of that. But yet this election, the lady that told me this, she followed up with the registrar of voters, and that fake ballot that she tore up and threw away actually voted. So how did that happen? We know there is fraud, and it's not just from illegals. It's from people who are no longer living here or people who are dead. But when you have mail ballots that they just randomly mail them out to anybody that goes into the DMV. If you go into the DMV and get a driver's license, which they give driver's license to people who are here illegally, you are also going to get a ballot in the mail. And that is absolutely wrong.
Absolutely. And I believe Gavin Newsom is massively responsible for the situation right now in California. And thanks God, is not even running again, but I hope he won't run on a bigger stage for making America California, what he did here. But I see you are doing great. You're actually leading in the polls, which is extremely reassuring about a message from people. How much people want to change? How do you sense from people when you go rally out there? What really people want for California?
Yeah, it's overwhelming support for my message, and my message is very, very easy. It's what government is intended to provide and what government is intended to do. We have to have public safety as a priority, number one. We have to start caring about our infrastructure, which not only our roadways, but our waterways, our lakes, our reservoirs, our dams, so we can have drinking water and irrigation water. Our power grid, we don't have enough electricity for the residents in California. It's getting more and more of a demand because of AI, the use of AI and technology, and we can't keep up with that. We absolutely must go to a nuclear power supply for California. That's what absolutely has to happen and will with me as your governor. And then number three is education. We've failed one, maybe even two generations of kids. We used to be the best educated state in the country, and now we're near the bottom, but yet we spend almost the most amount of money. That absolutely has to stop. We have to educate our kids. We have the basics, reading, writing, and math, and science. And then we also have to force, which I will as the governor, trades back into our school system so we can teach kids how they can be productive adults, how they can enter the workforce, provide for themselves and their family. Carpenters, welders, plumbers, electricians, all of those things that we used to have, auto mechanics, those things that we used to have that have completely gone away. We need to provide our kids with that ability. But then overall, the cost of living in California is by far the worst in the country, and that is what is making people leave. And we have to realize it is government created, and government can take it away by removing the regulations and the taxes that are causing it. I will absolutely make us oil independent in this state. We will never again buy any oil from either another state or another country. We will use our own. That will provide us the natural resource wealth like other states that do the same thing. And eventually, with me as your governor, we will no longer pay a California state income tax. Between the doging of California's waste, fraud, and abuse, which a lawman going in there to handle that, it's going to be handled relatively quickly. Between that, the oil reserves, the logging reserves, the mining of lithium, that we have the largest lithium supply of the entire world. By using California's natural resources, we are going to be by far the wealthiest state in the country without your taxpayer money. And so now we lower everything. We lower the cost of living by removing regulations, especially from our building industry and homes. We have the highest cost homes in the country, but it's all because of bureaucratic red tape and fees that are generated through that process. And by removing those restrictions on builders, we allow them to build again, and we allow them to build quickly. And now we have enough supply of homes for the demand that we have here, which naturally brings the price of homes down. And now all of a sudden we are structuring and we are creating an economic environment how the economy was designed, by the consumers stimulating that economy. And we will once again be the greatest state in the country.
That's actually that's a wonderful plan, because so many run and don't actually have concrete plans how to address the issues that are affecting people's livelihoods and their pocketbooks and their security. So I'm very happy to hear that you have a plan to get from A to Z in terms of these very critical issues. The question about Hollywood, because as Simona said earlier, Hollywood is a major reason that California obviously became that really interesting example for America around the world when it comes to soft power. A lot of movies are leaving California. Production houses are leaving California, and they're going to more tax-friendly states, even some abroad. Obviously, President Trump and the situation with tariffs to try to repatriate industries back to the United States is affecting how that happens. The question I have is, how do you view Hollywood's future with you as governor? Do you think that you'll be able to bring Hollywood back as a productive force once again? And we don't even need to talk about the wokeism that has permeated it, but more as a base, an economic foundation in California. How do you see that with you as governor?
Yeah, absolutely. Hollywood is California. The movie industry is California, and we have purposely pushed them elsewhere because of regulation and taxes. We take away the taxes from the actors that are actually paying this ridiculous amount of taxes. We take away the taxes on the industry and the work that they do, and everything is taxed from the bottom up. And it's also regulated and over-regulated. So they're filming movies in other states that don't have the environment that California has. We have the greatest environment for filming of any state in the country. You have to go all around the world to find different environments, different backgrounds, just to mimic California. We will bring them all back here because we're going to remove the restrictions, the regulations that are making them look elsewhere. And we will absolutely bring Hollywood back to its heyday, where the other states are going to be angry at us that films are not going to be filmed in their state, because we historically created everything here in California, and we're just going to take it back to what we know we have and what we know we can have. And I know exactly what it is, because it's affecting Riverside County. We had a quasi-film industry that we were trying to generate here to have movies filmed in our county. We have a very distinct county that has a lot of different demographics to offer, and we lost it because of regulation. Regulation forced the movie companies from coming into our county, and we knew it was the state, but they made it to where it was not affordable anymore to make a movie. And we can fix that. I fully intend. I will agree with you that I absolutely hate the wokeness that's coming from from Hollywood, but
Yeah.
I also want Hollywood to come back to California so we can benefit from making all of those movies here.
And it's so refreshing to set priorities where they belong,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? We have all these DI, LGTB policies that, yes, everyone has the right to be who they want to be. They shouldn't be on the top of our political agenda. I think economy should thrive. I think we should be able to live in California, not to leave California. Taxes on homes and taxes, I mean, controlling rents, also rent control, I think is a big issue to try to lower the prices because it's extremely expensive. And
Right.
just bring back law and order, and Hollywood as well, giving movie producers and actors more advantages for doing all they want to do. But we've seen now Hollywood people much affected. They were actually the most affected by the wildfire and the whole the burning
Yeah.
of Malibu and Pasadena. Do you believe this tragedy changed their mind about politics, so they're still stubborn in their walk ideas?
No, we know it changed a lot of their minds, and not only the ones that were affected, but people that watched it happen. And what it did is it woke people up to the failure of government. It wasn't because of global warming that this fire happened. That fire happened because of absolute decades-long failure of environmental policy that has prevented fire agencies all across the state from creating defensible spaces around our homes, our communities, our buildings for when those fires come. We have fire season in California. We know we have fires. It's a natural part of California. But what we don't have now is the ability to stop those fires because of all of the growth in our hills and our communities surrounding our towns. The fires get so intense, they can't be put out, and then they just consume the homes that are in their path. And that's what we saw with the Palisades. So it was twofold. Not only did it expose that absolute failure, that environmental activism failure that has created this problem, but then it also showed that once the disaster did happen, especially in very wealthy areas, those people could afford to build their homes again. They could afford to clean up their properties, and they were prevented from that happening by government regulations. And it made everybody just stand up and say, wait a minute, when did all of this happen? And then now we realize it happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and people have just been, they've opened their eyes to the fact that things weren't necessarily going for the benefit of us with California government. And they're ready to stand up and say, okay, we weren't paying attention for a while, but now we are, and we want a different direction. That's why someone like me in California, a Republican, is leading in the polls. And I think that's why I'm going to be very successful in winning this election, because everything that's happening with California leads perfectly back to failed leadership. And I truly am the only person that has proven leadership, 33 years of proven leadership, and at leadership at the executive level of government. That's one thing that we never have with all of these career politicians. There is no one at the executive level, and definitely no one that's successful. But yet you look at 32 years of me and then 8 years as successful, very successful executive leadership of the fourth largest sheriff's department in the entire country. And I am exactly what people are looking to go into Sacramento and say, disrupt it, change it, fix it, and start working for us. And that's my entire intent.
That sounds like a great plan, and we look forward seeing a real opportunity for changing California. I would like to remind our audience primary are June 2026, and finally, we are called to vote for change the current governor on November. So we're really close to make the change. I've seen you with Lara Trump, so I saw the family of the President Trump is supporting you, and I hope we can make California great again. Like, I'm a big MAGA person, so.
That's good. That's okay. We're going to make California great again, too. I'm going to be the first governor in many, many, many decades that's actually going to make California government work for Californians instead of Californians working to make their government bigger.
Thanks so much.
Sheriff, an outstanding interview. Thank you so much for the time. Where can our viewers follow you, your website, your social media, and to help support your run?
Yes, you can find all of that at biancoforgovernor.com, and then every single social media platform, Sheriff Chad Bianco.
Thank you so much, and promise to come back on the show when you will be soon governor of California.
Absolutely, for sure we will.